Hello top listers, today we'll learn about the top 10 oil-producing nations in the world. Oil is synonymous with wealth, but only when it is properly managed. The top 10 oil-producing nations in the world aren't necessarily those with the most oil wealth underground. Rather, the list focuses on nations that have made the most money from the sale of oil products, regardless of whether they have made any development. Top 10 Brazil. Brazil's production daily 2.9 million barrels. When it comes to oil production, Brazil is frequently eclipsed by Venezuela, yet this nation has been steadily expanding both its oil production and its overall economy. Brazil currently produces 2.9 million barrels of oil per day, or roughly 3% of the world's total production. Brazil has a combination of state-owned and private oil exploration firms, and they have been successful in finding new oil fields and boosting the production of those that already exist. Brazil now ranks among the world's biggest oil producers and has one of Latin America's most developed economies. Number 9. Kuwait. 3 million barrels are produced daily in Kuwait. Despite being lately the target of coalition military action, Kuwait has maintained a daily output of roughly 3 million barrels. Kuwait shares borders with nations like Saudi Arabia and Iraq, but has struggled to maintain cordial ties with them, which is why military action was taken. One of the largest oil producers, Kuwait accounts for around 3% of the global oil market. The government-owned Kuwait Oil Company is in charge of regulating oil production, and Kuwait maintains a sizable sovereign wealth fund for the proceeds of oil sales. Top 8 Iran. Iran produces 3.5 million barrels daily. Due to strategic partnerships, Iran, a contentious nation, is nevertheless significant in the oil market. One of the wealthiest oil producers is foreign, which produces about 3.5 million barrels per day on average. Iran produces about 3.7% of the world's oil and continues to have a significant impact on OPEC activity. Iran can do far better than this. The main issue is that international relations are not in Iran's favor and that the country's oil exports are subject to an excessive number of economic restrictions and embargoes. Iran remains a source of worldwide unrest that is stoked by claims that it has nuclear weapons. Number 7. China. Production in China was 3.8 million barrels per day. China is not typically included among the top oil producers in the world, but it has lately increased to a daily output of more than 3.8 million barrels, making it one of the richest oil producers with a 4% market share. China has been rapidly boosting its oil production capacity in recent years. Large state-owned businesses like China National Offshore Oil Corporation and China National Petroleum Corporation dominate the country's oil industry. As the world's second-largest oil consumer behind the United States, China has recently expanded its oil interests outside of its borders by investing in oil reserves in Africa and other regions. United Arab Emirates. Top 6. million barrels produced each day. The United Arab Emirates is one of the wealthiest oil producers and one of the most ambitious nations. It produces 4 million barrels of oil per day and has a long-standing position of influence in the oil-selling community. Additionally, it has amassed one of the largest sovereign wealth funds in the world, and its state-owned Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, also known as ADNOC, is in charge of the nation's oil production. Top 5. Iraq. Iraq produces 4.8 million barrels daily. Iraq has always been a significant oil producer. Wars only temporarily halted its production. Iraq is currently the 5th largest oil producer in the world, producing about 4.8 million barrels per day. However, due to social unrest, poor international relations, and a lack of infrastructure, Iraq is still subject to numerous sanctions and embargoes and is still far from reaching its full potential. Best for Canada. It is difficult to imagine the global oil market without Canada's participation. This country produces about 5.6 million barrels of oil per day and is crucial to the production and distribution of crude oil in the world. Alberta, where the majority of Canada's oil is produced, is interesting because it is not overly dependent on oil for revenue generation. Canada has done a great job in diversifying its economy. Number 3. Russia. Output of 11.5 million barrels per day in Russia. One of the most well-liked nations and a global superpower, Russia is a significant player in the energy and oil markets. It produces roughly 11.5 million barrels of oil per day, or about 12% of the world's oil supply. Despite having a significant impact on oil prices, Russia has maintained a pessimistic outlook on the market and chooses to go it alone. The majority of Russia's oil is exported to China, the Netherlands, and Germany. It does not belong to OPEC, with which it frequently has disagreements. Aside from oil, Russia is a major producer of other energy sources, including natural gas, and Gazprom is both the largest company in the world and Europe's largest distributor of the fuel. Top 2. Saudi Arabia. 11.8 million barrels are produced per day. With over 11.8 million barrels of crude oil produced per day, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has long been the leading oil producer and the de facto leader of OPEC. It has since given up its position as the top producer but still retains control of OPEC. Saudi Arabia is the 2nd richest oil-producing nation in the world, and that ranking is not one that is taken lightly. Infrastructure development in Saudi Arabia has been successful, and the country also has a sovereign wealth fund with more than $200 billion in diversified investments. The ambitious Saudi Vision 2030 investment drive aims to adequately diversify the Saudi economy, remove its reliance on oil, and make the nation a center of technology, sports, and other industries. Number 1. United States. Output 17 million barrels per day. This amount of oil is not a joke, and even Saudi Arabia, which holds the 2nd position, is about 3 million barrels behind the United States. For those who have always assumed that the United States was the world's largest oil producer, Saudi Arabia has gradually increased its importance in the global oil market and has become the richest oil country in the world. Top listers, we appreciate you spending some of your important time with us today. If you liked this video, please hit the bell button to never miss an upload. Also, don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.